All right, let's talk about something that every single business is dealing with right now. What happens when AI gives everyone the same superpowers? How in the world do you stand out? Well, today we're cracking open Neil Patel's playbook for not just surviving, but actually dominating in a world completely saturated with AI. Let's get into it. And really, this is the big question, isn't it? I mean, with tools like ChatGPT becoming totally mainstream, literally everyone, from your biggest competitor to your neighbor, has access to the exact same marketing ideas and content tools. So if we're all holding the same cards, how does anyone actually win the game? So Neil Patel has this great name for it. He calls it the Waldo problem. And you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Where's Waldo? That huge page, just a sea of red and white stripes, and you're trying to find that one specific guy. It feels impossible. Well, that's what marketing is starting to look like. When everyone's using the same AI, we all become just another red and white stripe. And if you're just another stripe in that crowd, you're basically invisible. Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to dig a little deeper into this Waldo problem. Then, we'll get into his secret weapon, the free-to-win playbook. From there, we'll talk about being everywhere your customers are, how to hire absolute A players, and we'll wrap it all up with the mindset you need for real long-term success. So, if that's the problem, what's the solution? While everyone else is just using AI to be a tiny bit more efficient, Neil Patel says, nope, that's not the game. He argues for a totally different and honestly pretty counterintuitive way to completely break free from all that noise. And this right here, this is the heart of it all. It's so simple, but that's what makes it so powerful. This one idea is basically the engine driving his entire strategy. See, it's not about trying to have one more feature than the other guy. It's about flipping the whole value proposition on its head. You give away a tool to sell something way, way bigger. He calls this the freemium flywheel, and it works in 4 steps. First, you got to be playing at a huge market, a big total addressable market or TAM. Second, you find something in that market that people are already paying for, and you just give it away for free. Third, you either build this thing yourself or, like he did, you can just go out and buy an existing one. And finally, step 4, and this is crucial, you just keep adding features relentlessly. You become what Peter Thiel calls the last mover, the one who comes in, learns from everyone else's mistakes, and builds the ultimate version. So you might be asking, why on earth does this work? Well, think about it. Technology is just one slice of the pie. If you look at a typical marketing budget, the software, the tech, that's maybe a quarter of the spend. But the real money, we're talking almost half the budget, is tied up in services, agencies, and labor. So Patel's big aha moment was realizing he could give away the smaller piece of the pie, the tech, to get a lock on the much bigger piece, the services. And let me tell you, he is not just dipping a toe in the water here. He is all in. This number, $8.6 million, that's what his company paid to buy Answer the Public. And here's the thing. They didn't buy it for the money it was making. They bought it for its huge audience, its user base, so they could plug it right into this free-to-win machine. And does it work? Oh yeah, the results are just staggering. By giving away tools like Uber Suggest and now Answer the Public, his agency, NP Digital, is pulling in over 60,000 leads every single month. It's a lead gen machine, and it costs way, way less than the $1 million a month he figures it would take to get that same traffic using paid ads. Okay, but having 60,000 leads pouring in every month, well, that's useless if your brand isn't actually visible enough to do anything with them. And that brings us to the next piece of the puzzle. In a world this fragmented, you've got to be everywhere. Let's have a little reality check. When we think search, our brains just automatically go to Google, right? But look at these numbers. They tell a totally different story. You've got billions with a B of searches happening on Instagram, on Amazon, every single day. In fact, Google is only about 18% of the entire search pie. Your customers, they're looking for you in a lot more places than you probably realize. So what does being everywhere actually look like? Does it mean you have to create 100 new things every day? No way. The real secret here is smart repurposing. You take one big piece of content, say a podcast or a long blog post, and you break it down. You atomize it into dozens of smaller pieces. We're talking short-form videos for TikTok and Reels, infographics, social posts for X and LinkedIn, all from that one original idea. Okay, so you've got the killer strategy. You're showing up on all the right platforms. But none of that matters if you don't have the right people to actually make it happen. So that's the next big question. How do you find and hire true A players? So Neil has this really simple but super powerful filter when it comes to hiring. He's not interested in someone who's just good at interviews. He wants a proven performer. And the key isn't what they say they did, it's what their old bosses proved they did. So here's the secret sauce. Look for people who've already worked at your competitors and, this is the important part, got promoted multiple times. I mean, that's the ultimate proof that someone else found them incredibly valuable, right? And it's not just about finding a star, it's about finding the right star for the right time. This quote really hits it home. The person who's amazing at getting a company from 0 to 10 million, well, that's probably not the same person who can take it from 10 to 100 million. Hiring a brilliant person for the wrong stage of your company, that can be just as damaging as hiring the wrong person in the first place. All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture for a minute. All of these things we've talked about, the freemium model, being everywhere, hiring the best people, they're all tactics, and they're all built on top of one foundational mindset. And that mindset is all about playing the long game. Neil tells this really fascinating story to drive home the power of focus. So think about Bill Gates. By all rights, he should have been the world's first trillionaire. I mean, he owned almost half of Microsoft at one point. But then, on the advice of Warren Buffett, he started to diversify. He's sold off a lot of his Microsoft stock over the years. Now, here's where it gets interesting. You compare him to Steve Ballmer, the former CEO of Microsoft. Ballmer owned just a tiny fraction of what Gates had, but he did one thing differently. He stayed focused. He held on to his Microsoft stock. He said he bled Microsoft. And the result? It's pretty incredible. Today, Steve Ballmer is actually worth more than Bill Gates. One guy diversified, the other stayed all in. Focus won. And look, this is a lesson Neil admits he learned the hard way. Early in his career, he was all about the shortcuts, trying to rank for things like online casino on some old domain, and then boom, getting banned by Google. He realized that real, sustainable success, it's not built on those kinds of hacks. It's built on a long-term strategy and just executing on it day in and day out. So, that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. In this world, where everyone's chasing the next AI hack, the next viral trend, what are you building? Are you building a short-term shortcut, or are you building a long-term empire?